and welcome to the astrology video for November. Thank you so much for joining me. The full moon this month is a lunar eclipse in Taurus. This somewhat echoes or answers the solar eclipse in Taurus from last spring. Think back to that part of the year and discover what area of your life will be affected now with the lunar eclipse. The effects will be a little different, more internal. Solar energy is a much more yang, forward-moving than lunar energy, but eclipses always bring about dramatic change in your life no matter what, provided they are touching a sensitive point in your chart. November 8th, the full moon in Taurus lunar eclipse is at 16 degrees 1 minute Taurus at 6:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is also Election Day. November 23rd is the new moon in Sagittarius at 1 degree 37 minutes at 5:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In this video, we will cover planet actions from the new moon at the end of October, which was a solar eclipse in Scorpio, until the new moon at the end of November, which is a new moon in Sagittarius. For more information about the solar eclipse in Scorpio and the upcoming lunar eclipse in Taurus, please go to my homepage in YouTube and look for the playlist on eclipses or the Astrology 2022 videos. Today, we're going to talk about the planetary ingresses, the retrograde planets, and the aspects taking place between October 25th and November 23rd. Now, the new moon solar eclipse in Scorpio, as I've already said, took place on October 25th at 6:49 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, Eastern Standard Time, at Scorpio, 12 degrees 19 minutes. And again, I'm going to refer you to my video for the full discussion on that. Now let's talk about the planetary ingresses, which means planets changing signs. From the period that we are addressing, from the solar eclipse up to the new moon in Sagittarius, these are the planetary ingresses that we find. Jupiter will retrograde back from Aries into Pisces on October 28th. Then we have Venus, Mercury, and the Sun over the course of about 6 days, all entering Sagittarius. Venus will enter Sagittarius on the 17th. Mercury will enter Sagittarius on the 18th, and the Sun will enter Sagittarius on the 23rd. And this will give us a huge feeling of we're in holiday season, because Sagittarius is holiday season, if nothing else. Now let's talk a little bit about Jupiter. Jupiter in Pisces brings a hospitable, friendly, and charitable energy. At this time, people like to help the castaways of the society. We will help the sick and the imprisoned. We're more sensitive and able to perceive the influences of the invisible world. We may be introduced to a person of a spiritual nature who will become a significant leader. And that could have to do with our society at large, which is basically the country of the United States. Now, this could also happen in other countries around the world, that a significant leader will step forward because of their spirituality and be recognized and lauded as a significant leader. So November 17th, Venus entering Sagittarius. Now, Venus in Sagittarius is fully aware of the generosity and inexhaustibility of love. At this time, we may either have a great desire for love or lust. Love can be an adventure, and the search for true love can take us far away from home, which is something Sagittarius loves. We may find our happiness with a person who would normally be beyond our original or limited horizon. We crave love and freedom, so we flirt a lot. Then on the 18th, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius. Sagittarius loves traveling, and it is possible to sit at home and play a game of chess under this transit, but only for a brief period of time. It may seem that there is a fire under us, forcing us to act fast. Mercury affects fiery signs by creating lively interest in anything that attracts our attention. We may learn a foreign language now, or desire to study abroad. Conversations lean towards the philosophical and religious topics. And when the Sun enters Sagittarius, now Sagittarius is one of my favorite signs. All the signs. I love all the signs basically, but I just want to give some due to Sagittarius. People born under the sign of Sagittarius bear the seal of the ruler of their sign, Jupiter, which symbolizes justice and happiness. They are there optimistic, active, social, and very honest, sometimes to the extent that their directness hurts others without them being aware of it. Their character does not consist of scathing satire or malice, but their ideas of justice implies that people deserve to know the truth. They are people of immediate reactions, which often act on impulse, without having managed to figure out the consequences of their behavior. They can be provoked in seconds and explode, but they can forget everything just as quickly without having the slightest idea that they could have hurt somebody emotionally. They did not mean to harm anybody, did they? Those who get to know them better and get used to them will not only experience a lot of fun, but also find reliable friends who might sometimes talk too much, but generally can be trusted. Sagittarians hate being restricted in any way. They're able to work a lot, but they cannot have the impression that it is an unavoidable duty and that somebody supervises them. They are happy in the role of a host, and as such, they often exaggerate their possibilities. Their carelessness in the moment when they're having a good time is to blame for this. They act in a similar way when somebody needs help. They will do immediately what is needed, and they do not expect gratitude or anything in return. They do not need much money for themselves because they do not have the need to show off, and they are definitely not systematic money savers. They are able to see the bright side of life and inspire others to have more optimistic worldviews. To others, they might seem a bit shallow, but in reality, they have a philosophical spirit which lets them see narrow-mindedness from a different perspective. Their forgiveness and goodness also help them in life. They spoil this image by their uncompromising fight for justice when they cannot restrain themselves from aggressive behavior. Other people around them often fail to notice that they hardly ever fight for themselves. They defend their pride, even at the cost of material losses. They do not like lengthy explanations, and they do not like to humiliate themselves, so they only slam the door and forget about their rights. Sagittarians are some of the most interesting people on the planet, and if you have the good fortune to have one for a friend, cherish it. Now let's move on to the retrograde planets. So this month we are blessed with many, many planets in retrograde. We have Mars in Gemini retrograde, which will be there for another 6 months or so. We have Jupiter in Pisces retrograde, which just got there from Aries. We have Neptune in Pisces retrograde. We have Uranus in Taurus retrograde, which seems like it's been there forever. And we have Chiron in Aries retrograde, and this is not an unusual way for Chiron to appear. It often retrogrades because Chiron orbits between Uranus and Saturn in an elliptical or figure eight pattern. So very often it is going backwards or seems to be going backwards. Now the nodes this month are also interesting because they will go direct on November 5th. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you realize that the nodes usually are retrograde, but once in a while they go direct. And in the month of November, they do this twice. On the 5th, they go direct. Then they station retrograde again on the 8th, the date of the eclipse. They go direct on the 17th, and then they go back retrograde on the 23rd, the date of the new moon. Now, this could result in a tumultuous month where many people change their ideas about their own mission or legacy in life and change their direction as to what they want to achieve. Loyalties and goals will change, not only due to the eclipse, but also due to the variability of the direction of the nodes. The North Node influences what direction we are going in life, which is informed by the South Node, which is where we are coming from and what we are comfortable with. By having all of this challenged or upended, we may find a lot of people confused by or in the process of completely changing what it is they want out of life. So that's it for the planetary ingresses and retrograde planets. Now let's move on to planetary aspects or actions that will take place during this period. The first almost week, October 25th through the 29th, which is the new moon eclipse to the end of October. 25th was the new moon in Scorpio, the lunar eclipse. And for that, I'm going to refer you to my video about that. But on the 26th, we have Mercury trining Mars. And on the 27th, we have Mercury scoring Pluto. So on the 25th, what I will say about the moon in Scorpio lunar eclipse is the predominant energy during these 3 days is Mercury. But we have Mercury first trining a retrograde Mars and then squaring Pluto. Both of these aspects will make you feel more feisty than usual. The aspect with Mars will energize you and have you speaking about ideas in the zeitgeist that you feel need to be embraced. The Pluto aspect will have you analyzing what you found out from Mars and forming new opinions. Then you may act on those instincts, but it will be from behind the scenes, not out in the open. Of course, you could also wait until some other planet comes around to 26 degrees of a cardinal sign before taking action. Pluto loves to lie in wait and spring when least expected. Now, with Mercury trining Mars retrograde, your mind is incredibly quick now, and you won't be able to let anything go. Watch as you speed through many ideas and find that you've thought of several action items for each. This aspect will keep you on a diplomatic but persuasive tone, so it's a great time to have a mediation or just a brainstorming session with others. That's October 26th. Then on October 27th, when Mercury squares Pluto, this aspect affects thinking in such a way that people are overly dominated by their opinions and instincts. This results in biased thinking. You'll find that unless you have input from others, you cannot keep this for long and you may sputter out, getting distracted by something a little lighter and more entertaining to think about. If you're actually searching for truth, check yourself to see if you haven't already made up your mind. Be careful of manipulating others because they won't be happy about that when they find out. All right, now we're moving on to October 30th to November 5th. And this has Venus opposing the North Node, the Sun opposing the North Node, Venus opposing Uranus retrograde, and Neptune retrograde trining Lilith. So first on November 2nd, we have Venus opposing the North Node. Venus will be at 13 degrees Scorpio, 19 minutes. The North Node is also at 13 degrees, 19 minutes, but in Taurus because it's in opposition. The positive thing about this aspect is that you will be feeling pleasant, graceful, sexy, and affectionate. You can appreciate beauty and art. Under this harmonious connection, you can focus and achieve your goals. The negative side of this aspect is that it can be difficult to find inner peace because your love life may be in conflict with the direction of your life. There can be feelings of unfulfillment, and you may even have a great need for affection that's very hard to satisfy. There's a lot of nodal attention this month, especially for those of you who have planets around 13 degrees of the fixed signs. That's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On November 5th, we have the Sun opposing the North Node, Sun being at 13 degrees Scorpio, 28 minutes, North Node at 13 degrees Taurus, 10 minutes. Frequent conflicts and tension among the demands of the Sun and the tasks of the lunar node are waiting to be realized. For this reason, the life path is not clear. You may be indecisive, feel chaotic, and constricted. Also on the 5th, we have Venus in opposition to Uranus, Venus being at 17 degrees Scorpio, 3 minutes, Uranus retrograde being at 17 degrees Taurus, 3 minutes. This aspect complicates any relationship because it seems there is a lot of personal freedom and integrity. You may feel mentally unstable or that your feelings are constantly changing. Be careful with money now and watch your impulses. You may act without thinking or with an inspired idea of the moment, but the consequences may be bad financially. And we have Neptune trine Lilith. Neptune's at 22 Pisces, 51 minutes retrograde, and Lilith is at 22 degrees Cancer, 52 minutes, going direct. Oh boy, you will feel good, very good about your desires that don't usually see the light of day. You may find during this transit that you can satisfy yourself and feel good about it. There is a creativity here that will bring out your primal urges. So take advantage of that and make the most of this creative period. Also, fantasy will be big for you right now. You will enjoy indulging your imagination in whatever way you please. That may mean that you create amazing art or that you plan a fantasy vacation. However you use it, it will feel wonderful and fulfilling. All right. Now we're moving on to November 6th through the 12th. On the 6th, we have Mercury opposing the North Node, Mercury being at 13 degrees Scorpio, 7 minutes, and the North Node being at 13 degrees Taurus, 7 minutes. The positive thing about this aspect is that it gives people intelligence and good life orientation. And in this month of the nodes going all over the place, hang on to this day because this is the one time where you may be clear about your destiny and focus in life. You may be searching for the background of your motives. Life challenges are easily managed with the help of some analytical and logical thinking. On November 7th, we have Venus square Saturn. Venus is at 18 degrees Scorpio, 47 minutes. Saturn at 18 degrees Aquarius, 47 minutes. Under this aspect, we feel responsible, reserved, and hesitant. We may feel restraints that are often the result of poor parenting or fear of other authorities. There's a fear of loss. We're afraid to lose our property and our loved ones. We may give in to our feelings and need for practicality. A typical manifestation of this is getting married for security. We subconsciously fear unemployment and poverty. And then November 8th is actually the lunar eclipse in Taurus. And on the lunar eclipse, again, go to my video. I have a lot more detail there, but the sun will be at 16 degrees Scorpio 15 and Mercury will be at 16 degrees Scorpio 15. There can only be a conjunction between the sun and Mercury. This causes one to be subjective and creative and to be able to express your ideas well and to bring out the most artistic side of yourself. Also, the most eloquent side of yourself. This is a great aspect for artists who perform. This allows you to express yourself intellectually, but also keeps your thinking subjective and may allow you to see things from the outside. In other words, to be more objective at times. Then on the 8th, also the date of the eclipse, we have Mercury in opposition to Uranus. This aspect can bring extreme views and a need for independence. People may be forcing their opinions, which are often unrealistic, and some may express themselves with arrogance and a reluctance to compromise. Opinions are often way, way out there, and people are inclined to get involved in movements that have views that may be more futuristic, more future thinking. We're very curious at this time and we are thinking outside the box. It's a very creative energy. However, it can also be destructive, rebellious, and chaotic. All right. So on November 9th, we have the sun in opposition to Uranus, the sun being at 16 Scorpio, 54 minutes, and Uranus retrograde being at 16 Taurus, 54 minutes. So under this aspect, people are very, very individualistic, selfish, and eccentric. They're very independent, and they're going to guard their independence carefully. They're not going to be terribly considerate towards others, and in general, they may suffer from mental exhaustion because the brain is just going too fast with Uranus there connected to the sun. They feel they need to be really different. They want to show their uniqueness. Now, they also want to be teachers and mentors and examples to others. However, they're going to extremes to show their originality. They will also have trouble accepting authority, and they may act out very rebelliously in order to attract attention. So this isn't a terribly calming aspect. This is kind of a up in arms kind of aspect, which is a little worrying because it's right after the eclipse, which is election day. And then on November 10th, we have Mercury squaring Saturn. Mercury is at 18 degrees Scorpio, 52 minutes. Saturn is at 18 degrees Aquarius, 52 minutes. And this aspect gives people serious, conservative, and practical mental processes. However, You do have the ability under this transit to calculate clearly and calmly, and this will cause people to be more responsible. So a couple days after the eclipse, people will kind of calm down and become more practical. Also on the 10th, we have Venus trine Neptune. Venus at 22 Scorpio, 33 minutes. Neptune retrograde at 22 Pisces, 22 minutes. And this gives people a sense of romance, compassion, and intuition in relationships. This is great for fantasy, inventiveness, and art. There may be really great expressions in fashion or just a really distinctive style that comes into the zeitgeist at this moment. Transcendent, mystical, magical, sexually bent type of art and design and fantasy may come into the fore. And this tells men about the characteristics of their inner female. And so this may help some men get more in touch with their female urges and also just their opinions and the way they treat women. This may be very, very positive for that. Um, Women will be interested more in fashion and art, and everybody, I think, just it will inspire their imagination and allow people to be very inspired. So this, I think, is a very positive thing happening after the eclipse and after the election day. And then we have Venus trine Lilith also on the 10th, Venus at 22 Scorpio 33, Lilith at 23 Cancer 21. And during this time, you're driven to express your raw, unbridled emotions through your relationships and sexuality. You may become aware of the value of your financial and personal assets and use these to assert your independence. You may now become more aware of your beauty. And as you find your passion and love for life, you will insist on expressing your independence. You'll crave connection and affection, but need time to have emotional connection on your own terms. You will crave a partner who is passionate and independent, just as you are, but who also respects and admires your deeper instincts and your full range of emotions. Your deep desires and sexual interests are easily and openly expressed. Even when you push the envelope and express your interests in rebellious ways, your passion and desires are embraced by others. So much more acceptance of people behaving in ways that are a little bit to the left of what we would consider mainstream. You can be more successful asserting your independence and staying true to your authentic, wild inner nature. Rather than conforming. You can love yourself in many ways now. There are many, many things that you usually don't think about, but now you will. And as you think about these, it will make you feel happy. And you'll find yourself coming up with more and more ways to express yourself and to create a place for yourself where anything goes. Enjoy this and remember this feeling. On the 11th, we have the Sun square Saturn. The Sun is at 18 Scorpio, 54 minutes. Saturn is at 1854 Aquarius. This creates two groups of people. People in the first group tend to give up when they encounter problems. When people in the second group encounter problems, they get stimulated by them and perform better. So the first group often has lower self-esteem, but it can be improved by doing good work. So this is going to be really interesting on the 11th to see how these two groups of people come to bat. Then on the 12th, we have Mercury trining Neptune. Mercury is at 2246 Scorpio and Neptune retrograde is at 22 Pisces 46. This harmonious aspect gives people great fantasy and a good taste for art. However, they do not have a good sense for detail and they may find it hard to cope with the practical and material aspects of life. You will be drawn to photography, esotericism, fashion, but you may be too trusting and pay a big price for that. So this aspect is going to bring people a lot of intuition and inspiration linked to thinking, speaking, and communicating. And now on to November 13th through the 19th. Here we have Mercury trine Lilith. Mercury is at 23 degrees 42 minutes Scorpio. Lilith is at 23 degrees 42 minutes of Cancer. This is deep emotional instincts and unresolved anger, which can fuel your thought processes and communication. So this is a little bit rebellious and destructive. You may feel an erratic and intense urge to dredge up unresolved pain and anger from the past, but at the same time, you're likely to want to intellectualize your feelings and will not be able to suppress your emotions. This is an important time for you to put your deeper wounds and instincts into writing or create channeled or inspired writing. You may feel called to speak up for people who are ostracized. You won't let anyone stifle your ideas or emotions. You may be obsessed by your own passions and interests. There's no moderation in your thinking or communication, and you may speak impulsively and emotionally. It's easy to express your intuition and rebellious ideas now. You're more likely to be convincing and influential to others, even if you share radical or unusual ideas. So this is a period of time where people who are a little off the beaten path may be accepted a little bit more, but also they may be able to describe and to sway people to understand their point of view, which is so important for people getting along and understanding and being tolerant of others. On the 13th, we have Venus sextile Pluto. Venus is at 2622 Scorpio. Pluto's at 2625 Capricorn. This is a harmonious aspect which will give us the ability to experience relationships very deeply. However, we may require something from our partners, which may give rise to problems and conflicts, especially if the requirements are not met and the partner doesn't understand. So this aspect gives people the ability to express themselves in public, in the media, in social media. And it can also activate sexuality and sex appeal. I think all of these things that are focusing on behavior that is outside the norms is very good. And I think it means that we will be able to have conversations about the LGBTQ community and, how women should be in control of their bodies, et cetera, things like that. So I think after the elections, I think we're going to have some very good discussions with people about these things that are usually very difficult and very emotional to speak about. We have the Sun trine Neptune, Sun at 2241 Scorpio, Neptune at retrograde at 2244 Pisces. This will make people very sentimental. This will also make them exhibit very good manners and be really good to people who they're in relationship with, in their families especially. This will cause people to want to get involved in charities. They'll be very creative. And so any charities that use anything to do with art, like if they sell art, if people donate art and they sell it for donations for their charitable institution, or if they support children doing art, or if they use art as therapy, anything having to do with art and imagination is going to really succeed with this. The use of your imagination, intuition, spirituality, and a sense of harmony are all combined with the Sun trine Neptune. But these activities, if they lack order and structure, then people will just sort of be floating around and there will be no tangible results met. So it's important that there's some sort of a structure so that people can express themselves, but then there's something in the end, some sort of tangible result that people can see so that they'll want to do it again. Mercury will be at 2527 Scorpio. Pluto will be at 2627 Capricorn. This aspect will give people a strong will and clear opinions. The sphere of interest is quite broad, from magic to psychology to mathematics and physics. So there will be a need to exchange ideas and experiences. And this aspect will have a similar effect as a conjunction, not quite as strong, but people will tend to persuade others. So this is another aspect that will enhance communication among disparate parties. Then on the 15th, Venus is trine Jupiter. Venus is at 2855 Scorpio. Jupiter retrograde is at 2855 Pisces. And this will also make people very kind and cordial and foster very genteel civil behavior. It will make it easy to adapt new social trends and demands. It will make it easy for people who are in the fashion industry to have their fashions accepted. And this will also lend people's energies towards hospitality and generosity. It's also useful for resolving legal disputes. So if there is any sort of a difficulty surrounding the election, if they do have to say count votes, which as I pointed out, they're going to be able to do really quickly because Pallas Athena is conjunct one of the planets in the eighth house for joint resources, which those votes really count as resources. That the counting is going to be fine. But around the 15th or 16th, about a week after the election, by then we should have a resolution for most of the races, because Venus trining Jupiter will allow people to accept. It will allow people to be gracious with their winning, gracious with their losing, and to accept the results of the election. So I don't think it's going to drag on forever, a whole bunch of questions about who won and who lost. I do think there will be very, very high emotion surrounding the actual election day and a few days after. I think that will be a very difficult time. It may even be a very physical, active time. But I think by the time we get to November 15th or 16th, I think things should have calmed down. Now, the 16th, we have the sun at 24 Scorpio, 2 minutes, trining Lilith at 24 degrees, 3 Cancer. And this says charisma and creative energy are unleashed during this transit. You may feel the need to express your independence. While you can step into positions of leadership, your ultimate goal will be your desire for recognition and freedom, not benevolence to society. You may become more accepting of your sexuality and take pride in both the creative and destructive aspects of your personality. You may become more flirtatious and playful. Your edgy side can come forward as well, but you're drawn to the arts and theater to express your shadow side. You'll rebel against anyone who tries to criticize your identity or appearance, or who tries to get you to contain your unique individual energy. It is easier for you to embrace your creative side and make peace with your raw, edgy, and rebellious nature. You can easily express your deeper fantasies with confidence and creativity during this time. On the 16th, we have Mercury trine Jupiter, Mercury being at 2834 Scorpio, trining Jupiter retrograde at 2853 Pisces. This harmonious aspect brings optimism, kindness, and openness. So right now, people will be very philosophical, but they will also want to satisfy their mental interests, even if they don't have much money for it. They're gonna emphasize travel, and they're gonna be antsy to get up and go. The sun sextile Pluto, 26. The sun is at 26 degrees, 31 minutes Scorpio. Pluto's at 26 degrees, 31 minutes Capricorn. This gives people decisiveness and good manners. Again, this is all saying that people are really going to be very gracious in the moments of defeat in this election. They have a tendency, some people will be stubborn and secretive and will have a tendency to influence others through effective manipulation at a subconscious level. So we are going to have people who are really going to try to promote another big lie, probably. People have excellent regenerative abilities and extremely strong will. So they believe that they are going to be able to achieve anything, and they will go to any means to try to achieve it. So there are going to be people, even after the 16th, who decide that they're going to promote a false narrative. On November 19th, we have Mars retrograde squaring Neptune retrograde. This is a moment that I am a little scared about. This is great for mysticism and reinforces imagination and fantasy, preferring that over reality. This is where crazy town takes over. So Mars squaring Neptune is where people believing very, very extreme obsessive views start to get detached from reality. So that's what's happening on the 19th. So actually, we're going to have the election. It's going to be very heated. People are going to be very emotional. And a few days surrounding the election, it's just going to seem like people are too emotional, too crazy, too physical about this whole thing. Then the countdown will happen, the counting of the votes will happen, or perhaps the even recounting of votes will happen, and they will announce, that everything was on the up and up, and this all, and we will witness people being very gracious in their winning and losing and acquiescing to the winners. And then it'll just take about 24, 48 hours, and then the craziness will start floating to the surface, and we will see people who are extremely, extremely upset by the results of the election, and they will start to spin a false narrative about what really happened. So that's what's going to happen up to November 19th. And then we have November 20th through the 23rd. And that's when the Sun trines Jupiter retrograde and Mercury conjuncts Venus on the 20th and the 23rd. So let's talk about those. So the Sun will be on the 20th at 28 Scorpio 48 minutes, and Jupiter retrograde will be at 28 degrees 48 minutes Pisces. And this will create a lot of confidence and optimism in people, but people will want to travel. So here we're going to have people who just want to leave the country. Or just go somewhere else and gain new experiences. And Mercury conjuncting Venus will give people good manners and mental balance. So the people who stay will be the people who are sane, and they will express themselves very well and very convincingly. This would be a great day for the last results to be published for the January 6th committee, but that's probably not going to happen. So views are well balanced. Thinking is very, very rational, and that's just going to be a really, really good day. Mercury that day is at 7 degrees Sag 9 minutes, and Venus is at 7 degrees 9 of Sagittarius. And then on the 23rd, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. And I think by the time we have the new moon in Sagittarius, around the 23rd, probably right on the 23rd, whatever's going on there on the 23rd, that is what we are going to be seeing for a few months after that. So if they're spinning a big fat lie, it's going to go on for months. If they're not, if they're calmed down, then we're going to be fine. But if they have another big falsehood, a false narrative that they want to promote, it will be most obvious on November 23rd if it is or isn't going to be promoted. And if it's going to be promoted, it'll be months and months that it just keeps going. So that's what I have to say about November. It's a really wild ride in November because of coming off of the eclipse on October 25th and the fourth eclipse on November 8th, that this is going to be really, really big for everybody. And it's something that everyone needs to be aware of and pay attention to. All right, that's the astrology for November 2022. It's quite the wild ride. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you to all my subscribers. Hello out there, everybody who's my subscriber. Thank you so much. I really, really love doing these videos, and November was a challenging video to do. There was a lot of aspects and just so much going on. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to catch the 2 eclipse videos that I did. Both of those videos have predictions for every sign for those 2 eclipses. So that's where your predictions are. This is just the overview for astrology. And have a great, great month of November. Be sure to vote. Make sure you vote. That's really important. And I'll see you next time.